They say when you're a good woman, you don't lose people, people lose you. But not exactly. All right, and let me explain. Listen, you may be a good woman at your core, all right? And I truly believe that. However, that doesn't mean you are not engaging in behaviors that unknowingly are pushing good men away, scaring good men off. Now, let me be very clear. I say good men because I notice on the internet, they'll tell you things that scare men off and not differentiate the fact that a lot of the men you're scaring off need to get the hell on anyway. Like, they're simply not for you. I say all the time, you could meet 100 men tomorrow, 99 of them ain't for you. So we should not put weight in behaviors that scare the general public of men away, because that's a good way to weed them out. And I'm going to mention those at the very end. Some of these things I've seen they put out there that I think is dead wrong. But I know of 9 things that are accurate that you need to be aware of so that you don't fall into this trap and start to create a negative environment around you. So let's get right to it, all right? And of course, be sure to subscribe and like this video. Number 1, playing games. Now, some of y'all might be saying, I don't play any damn games. It's these men playing games. They're the ones that are full of crap. They're the ones that don't know what they want, so on and so forth. Listen, I get it. I understand. But the unfortunate reality is that a lot of you are playing games. And again, maybe not with a malicious intent, but a lot of the advice that women are given, such as playing hard to get. You notice the first word in that is playing, all right? You're playing hard to get, therefore you are playing a game, all right? Don't call too much. Don't do this, don't do that. And the reason why it becomes a game is because you're not being true to yourself. And the reality is that a good man, and again, I stress, this is about the good men, the genuine, well-intentioned, relationship-minded men. Those men aren't going to want to deal with that behavior. Those men can be put off by that, because when someone's not being themselves, they come across as phony. They come across as not genuine. You've seen it yourself dealing with certain men. That's a turnoff. That doesn't look, that's not an attractive thing, all right? So you don't want to get caught up in trying to be something you're not. Because again, this leads you down the path of both playing a game, as well as by not being your true self, you don't even get to see if the guy is truly into you. You don't get to see if you guys really can come together and have a great relationship. So you're shooting yourself in the foot in more ways than one. But to go even further than that, like, don't engage in any kind of manipulation tactics, try to make him jealous, doing this, doing that. Like, stop with all of that. Just be real, just be you, behave in the way that you would want someone to behave with you, all right? Because when you establish authenticity, because when you establish being genuine and being real, all right, you now hold them to the standard of doing the same. But if you're being fake, well, guess what? There's a very good chance they're going to be fake with you too. And we don't want that. The second thing that scares good men off is being entitled, or having an entitlement attitude or mindset, all right? So here's the thing. All good men, all generally good men want to do for their woman. All generally good men understand or embrace the idea of providing and to some extent protecting and all these things, all right? They don't have a problem with that. And they don't have a problem doing for you in various ways. The problem because when you have an attitude that says, well, you're supposed to do it. When you have an attitude that doesn't show gratitude, when you have an attitude that doesn't show any appreciation for it, this will kill the situation. I always say appreciation breeds production, all right? And so when a man sees his actions are well received, appreciated, there's gratitude, he'll want to do more. And the reality is, this isn't just with men. This is people in general. Think about you as a woman. If you kept doing for someone and they had an attitude of being entitled to it and not showing that appreciation and gratitude, there's going to come a point where you're going to feel like, I don't want to do this for you anymore. Like, you're so ungrateful. You don't appreciate anything I do. You will feel taken advantage of, all right? And so that will lead you to not want to be bothered with that person anymore. All all right? Or at the very least to make less of an effort to pour into them. So it's very important as a woman to not get caught up into that. And I think it's very important to point out, because I hear a lot of women saying, well, we're the prize, we're the prize. Listen, stop with all that. All right, listen, I love y'all. And you are a prize, a prize. But this mentality of you are the prize, as if you are on a higher level than him, as if you deserve more than him, as you should be worshiped more than him or something, that's a problem. A good man and a good woman are both a blessing to each other, are both a prize to each other. And when they respect and value each other in that way, they can create an amazing relationship. But when you have this lopsided approach of, well, I'm the prize, you got to do for me, bow down to me, sucker, like that. That's essentially how you're coming across. It's like, yo, why as a good man would I want to be bothered with that? A lot of men aren't. You know what I'm saying? They're not going to deal with that. They're not going to accept that. And for any of you who might be thinking, well, I've seen good men getting treated like that by women, those good men are probably broken on the inside. And they have some deeper issues that have led them to entertaining and engaging with a woman who mistreats them in that way. Plain and simple. The same way that happens to good women, where there are a lot of good women out there dealing with toxic men because they have not healed from their past. So don't allow that to make you think this is actually an acceptable dynamic or that it works in any kind of way. It does not. So the entitlement mindset has to go. Which brings me to number 3, and that's being selfish. All right? Nobody likes a selfish partner. Plain and simple. I don't care who you are, man or woman, nobody likes a selfish partner. And this kind of goes hand in hand with being entitled. When you have that entitled mindset, it's very easy to make everything about you. It's very easy to forget that it's not about what they're just pouring into you. It's about what you pour into them as well. You know, genuine, real love is not selfish. It's selfless. All right. We're supposed to give of ourselves to each other, pour into each other. Yes, a relationship is give and take. All right. So it doesn't mean you should just be giving and not receiving in return, but you've got to be willing to pour into your partner. You've got to be willing to be considerate of your partner. You have to be willing to understand that they have feelings too. And I feel the need to say that because a lot of women think men don't have feelings. Like, y'all really think we don't get hurt. Y'all really think we don't care all the time. Y'all really think certain things shouldn't bother us. No. Like, again, so many of you have been blinded by emotionally detached, toxic men or men who weren't for you that you don't know how to navigate dealing with a good man, a man who's genuinely into you, a man who is putting his heart on the table for you. All right. So yes, he does have feelings. He does need love. He does need attention. He needs all that as well. So you got to make sure that you don't fall into the dynamic of selfishness or the attitude or the mindset of selfishness, because that will absolutely scare off a good and especially a good healthy man. So now we got number 4. And 4th on this list of things that scare away men or scare away good men is being too insecure. All right. So you've probably heard me say it plenty of times. Confidence looks good on everybody, and insecurity looks bad on everybody. All right. Now, before I dive deep into the type of insecurity that I'm talking about, let me differentiate some things here. There is the insecurity that's within you due to your own inner struggles, past traumas, things like that have not been resolved. That's the insecurity that we have to make sure is corrected. But then I do believe that there is insecurity that is created by a partner behaving in a shady manner. Now remember, this is about what scares off good men. So we're assuming here, for the sake of this video, that this man is not engaging in shady behavior. However, I feel the need to say, it will hit my spirit, sometimes when you are a woman who has not healed from your past, even normal behavior looks shady to you. Right? You start questioning everything this man is doing. You turning up your eye to every little thing. So you've got to be mindful of that. Where is this insecurity really coming from? Is it me, or is it really this guy is doing things that creates problems in the relationship? So I always say, like, for example, secrecy creates insecurity. So when we're overly private in a relationship, like in a relationship, we're supposed to be sharing our worlds with each other. So if we're overly private with each other, that kind of secrecy can start to plant the seed, all right? And that seed can grow easily with past issues, or it can grow easily when something new happens that starts to feed the belief that, okay, maybe this person is doing something behind my back. So it's very important that we have open and transparent relationships so that we don't bring that toxic energy into it. But again, I'm not going to knock you, and that's a whole different video about when he's doing things to make you feel insecure. But let's get back to this man's not doing anything wrong. He's a genuinely good man, all right? He's doing his part. But you as a woman are insecure. You as a woman are lacking confidence. You as a woman have low self-esteem. You've got to make sure you handle and address that. I know and I understand that you're not trying to be insecure to be malicious. You're not trying to be insecure to be a problem for him. Because again, some of it may be real struggles. I'll never forget, I had a client one time who she told me like her father told her she was only good for sex. All right, that's all she would ever be good for, is to lay down for a man. And that stuck with her. And he also told her she was ugly. All right, and so her insecurity was created by a horrible father, all right, or a toxic relationship with her father. But still, though I understand that and there's sympathy there, you can't bring that into a relationship and then expect for your partner to deal with it and it not to have a negative impact. You know, there's a level of patience that comes from a good man who's genuinely into you, especially if there's a connection there, right? But again, I said level of patience. There's a line that you may cross that now it starts to become too much. And so if you become too comfortable in thinking that, well, he should just deal with my insecurity or he should be the one to help me fix this, it's very easy to lose sight of things to where now you're constantly crossing that line. And now you're weighing the relationship down with your insecurities. So it's important that you get healing. It's important that you resolve those past things. It's important that you work on your confidence and you get to a good place. And I also feel the need to say this. You got to get to a place of confidence where losing this man is never going to be worse than losing yourself. Okay? It's important that you understand that, you know what, yes, I may want him, I may want this relationship, I may want things to work, but I cannot lose myself in this, all right? That's with anybody, in any situation. You got to stay true to who you are. You got to find who you are. You got to love who you are, and you can't go down that rabbit hole, so to speak. And I'm connecting that to confidence in the sense that when we don't have that debilitating fear of I'm going to lose this person, all right, we're able to walk and behave in a way that sheds insecurities. Because it's that fear that feeds it. You know what I'm saying? It's that fear that really magnifies it. So when we remove that, we take a huge step in the right direction. So it's very important that you do that. And if you need help with healing, with tapping into your feminine energy, with finding your purpose, with meeting higher quality good men, join my program, special program. Click the link below or go to receivingmyblessings.com. You're going to love it. Thousands of women have joined and have gotten tons of help. I'm telling you, it's changing lives. All right. So check it out. Again, receivingmyblessings.com or click the link below. All right. So now let's keep this moving. And now we are on to number 5. The 5th thing that can scare good men off is a bad attitude or just being negative. All right. At the end of the day, men want peace. All right. And I'm going to say it. Good men deserve some damn peace. I mean, listen, all right? The world sheds so much light on bad men. And hey, hell, I make a lot of videos talking about bad men. But there are a lot of great men out there. There's a lot of good men out there trying to have a good relationship. And they deserve some damn peace, all right? But with that said, if they come across a woman who is too negative, and again, not taking into account, or let's understand that when we see the opposite, it's due to lack of healing in that man. Outside of that, all right, he wants a woman that he can come home to, that can make him feel better, that brings him peace. It doesn't mean you're only his peace and he don't bring you peace. All right? Because the women are quick to say, well, he need to be my peace too. Of course. But there's ways that he will do it and there's ways that you do it. All right? But you have to make sure you can do it and that you're able to do it. Because if you have a bad attitude or if you are negative, you're going to struggle heavily to get or receive that really good man, or to be able to keep that really good man and have a great, healthy, happy relationship. Now listen, a lot of women, whenever I bring up having a bad attitude or being negative, it's like, well, the men make us this way. All right, listen, I'm not going to deny or ignore the fact that a lot of women have dealt with toxicity from all kinds of men, whether it be their fathers, friends, men they dated, things of that nature. I get it, right? But you can't use that as a scapegoat to remain negative. You cannot use that to validate now being negative with a new man who has nothing to do with it, all right? And again, you have to be mindful of, are you looking for things in him to validate your negativity, or is he actually doing things wrong? All right, because I've seen a lot of situations where the man wasn't doing anything wrong, but the woman is hell bent on trying to find things to validate her negativity, to allow her to keep lashing out, because deep inside she has not healed. Now we already talked about the healing, so we'll leave that alone, but healing is going to always be a huge part of all this, because if you are negative, if you have a bad attitude, then you are a woman that is holding on to something toxic within. Plain and simple. And that needs to be adjusted. You have to own your energy. Because that's another thing I've seen or I've heard a lot is, well, I'm going to give people the energy they give me. Listen, so you telling me you're going to let people dictate energy to you? You're going to let people determine for you how you should behave? Don't do that. No, you need to be a master over your energy. You need to say, no, I'm going to bring positivity into the environment. I'm going to dictate to them. And if they can't deal with it, they got to go. You know what I'm saying? Or you can remove yourself. That's fine. But don't stoop to their level. Don't deviate from that positive energy, that good energy. You know what I'm saying? You got to make sure you stay on the high road, so to speak. So if you struggle in that area, and be honest with yourself, because I'm not here to beat you up. I'm not here to judge you. I'm here to help you get better. All right? If you genuinely have a bad attitude, or you tend to be negative, or you've heard people say this to you multiple times, because if one person said it, all right, maybe it was just that situation. But if you're constantly hearing it, then you got to give some consideration to what's being said. All right, let's work on it. Let's address it. Let's look into it. Let's not make excuses for it, because again, if you ignore it, you're not only going to scare off good men, you're going to lower your own quality of life. And I don't want that for you. All right, so now let's do number 6. And number 6 kind of goes hand in hand with number 5, and that's being too damn difficult. All right, listen. So again, what did I say already? Men want a woman that can bring him some peace. When you are difficult to deal with, there is no peace there. All right, there is no harmony there. And it becomes a very unbearable situation. This is one of the reasons why some men, not all, but some men don't like even going home, all right? Because home is just drama. Home is another headache. Home is not gonna help him feel better about his life. It just makes things worse. And that's a horrible position to be in, all right? So you really gotta ask yourself, okay, when we talk about being difficult, to give more clarity to it, being combative, all right? As you're probably hearing a lot of people mention, not knowing how to be cooperative. And when I say cooperative, I don't mean in the way of, yes, sir, okay, sir, yes, master. Like, yo, we're not talking about like this, just do everything he says, but we are saying that learn how to flow with him. I'm saying learn how to flow with him. I'm saying if he, again, because we're talking about good men here. If he's a good man, why not trust his lead? All right. And if you can't trust his lead, what's the real issue here? Is the issue him? I would say no. The issue is a fear within you to be vulnerable in that way to allow him to even be a leader in your relationship. And for those of you who say, well, why does he have to lead? Why does he have to lead? And I promise y'all, I'm going to make a video on why the man has to lead, all right? I'm going to break it all the way down. But for right now, I will say this. You got to understand it again. If he is a good, genuine man who loves you, he wants to, one, be that for you. Two, if you're honest with yourself, do you want to carry the burden of leader in the relationship? You really don't, at least not for an extended period of time. You may have moments where you feel like, well, he needs to listen to me right now. I get those moments, but again, what are you setting up for the long term? What's really going to help you be more at ease and peace there? Because I can tell you that the women who have battled on that front, who have tried to have this dual leadership thing, what typically happens is they end up having to essentially be the leader, and it wears them the hell out, and they're not happy. All right, so it may sound good, and again, I'll do a video to break it down so you guys really understand it, because I know some people won't fully grasp what I'm saying, and there's still going to be some resistance right now. But trust me when I say this, it's for the good of the relationship. It is not some dictatorship type of mentality. It is not to rule over women in some negative way. It is simply to create a balance and harmony that everyone can benefit from. But getting back to it of being cooperative and not being difficult, again, just being, this also goes into not being that negative woman, not always being so overly pessimistic, not making things more complicated than they need to be. You know what I'm saying? Again, learn how to go with the flow. And the reality is that in most situations, if not damn near all, the woman who is difficult is the woman who struggles to be vulnerable. That's really what's going on. Because to be cooperative, to allow the man to lead, to go with his flow, and again, go with his flow as far as he's in a real relationship with you, not you're just dating the guy. He's like, let's just go with the flow. I'm not going to tell you what this is. All right? Not that. We're talking about real relationship here. To go with his flow means to let your guard down. It means to be vulnerable. It means to trust. That's where it gets scary. That's where it gets hard. And now, rather than addressing the real issue of those fears, a wall is put up that now makes you come across as difficult. And nothing is solved. Because now we have a battle in this relationship. You're not going to be at peace regardless, because the real issue is deeper than what's going on at that moment on the surface. All right. He's not going to want to continue to deal with this, and this is going to destroy everything. So we got to be mindful of getting to the root of the issue and understanding why you would even struggle in that area and why you are coming across as difficult. But it definitely needs to be corrected, because if not, it will run the man off. All right, so now number 7, which again, you're going to notice a lot of these just run together. All right. Number 7 is being too controlling. So it's one thing to be difficult with a lot of resistance, because you can look at being difficult as just giving a lot of resistance, not flowing with the guy, so on and so forth. But then there's controlling, where you got to run everything, where you're trying to dictate everything. So a lot of women will give pushback to the idea of letting a man lead because of this concern that he will be dictator over them, not realizing that in return, you end up being dictator over him. You're the one trying to run things. You're the one being overly controlling. And now, again, this hurts you in more ways than one, because the good man is not going to want to deal with that. But you're also putting this unnecessary burden on you. People who try to control everything wear themselves out. All right? Even in business, and this goes for men and women. I've had to learn, as time has gone on, as the business has grown, I have to relinquish control. If I don't, I burn myself out. I drive myself insane. I don't allow myself to enjoy life. I don't allow myself to grow. I don't allow myself to reach the next levels that I need to reach, all because of trying to keep control. So this mindset, this behavior, all right, is unhealthy in all aspects. We've got to learn to let go. It doesn't mean, of course, there's what's the word I'm looking for? I understand that in some situations it's not it's easier said than done, so to speak. But it's something that we need to be mindful of and start working on, all right? But especially more specifically when we're talking about a relationship, if you try to be too controlling, it may feel safe right now. And again, whether you're the business owner or in a relationship, it feels safer. It feels like I'd rather just handle it myself than to have to worry or trust anyone else, or in this situation, that man, to do anything. But it just deteriorates you in the long run. It deteriorates you, and it also, it destroys his ability to show you that he can step up for you in that way, all right? Because again, we're talking about good men. He wants to step up. He wants to show you he can handle it. He wants to provide. He wants to pour into you. But by you trying to control, you are choking out his ability to do that. And you're not allowing him the chance to show you that he can. And so now it'll be this constant battle forever, and you're not going to be happy. Period. You're not. So it doesn't work for you. It doesn't work for the relationship, and it damn sure ain't going to work for him. So you being too controlling, big problem. We got to fix it. We got to work on it. And like I said, I don't care if it's relationships or business. It's something to be mindful of and to start to improve. Now we have number 8. All right. And again, I keep saying it. All these things, they're really all connected when you hear them. All right. Number 8 is being too damn independent. So I'm sorry I have to laugh, but it's just a reality. Listen, here's the thing. Let me first start off by saying this. I believe most men respect a woman's ability, and listen to the words I'm using specifically, a woman's ability to be independent. I think most men see great value in that, and it is respected, all right? The problem is not in your ability to be independent. Your problem is trying to impose that independence onto the relationship or the dating dynamic, all right? Because now it becomes a conflict. Because again, and I've said this millions of times before, relationships to thrive require interdependence. We've got to be able to lean on each other. We got to be able to pour into each other. We got to be able to trust each other. All these things is necessary for the growth and the success of a relationship. If people are too independent, it will kill the relationship. And now, again, just so you understand, I'm not just picking on, and I'm not picking on anyone, but I'm not just pointing out or singling out independent women. If a man, consider this, if you got a relationship with a man who was overly independent, he doesn't talk to you about any decisions he makes, because to him, I'll make the decisions my damn self. He doesn't consider you in things that's going on in the relationship. He doesn't include you in things. He doesn't share things with you. He's always on, like, if he acts too independently, that's going to bother you. That's going to hurt you. That's going to make you feel like, what the hell am I here for? Why are you even in a relationship with me? This is how you're going to behave. So guess what? That's how the man feels. Like, what the hell am I here for if you're going to always do it yourself? What the hell am I here for if you essentially have a wall up, not allowing me in, not allowing me to do for you? And again, not allowing him to do for you is essentially not allowing him to love you, not allowing him to pour into you, to give to you. So you're restricting the flow of love in and out. How is the relationship going to work if that's happening? It's not. So you've got to understand and work on learning how to let that man do for you, learning how to let that independent mindset go once trying to date someone or in a relationship. And again, when I say let it go, I don't mean, as a woman, you got to do what you got to do, right? And there's going to be situations where you can't be waiting around for anybody. I get that. But when you're with him, if he's offering, allow him to do for you. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't mean you have to throw everything on his shoulders. It doesn't mean you have to run behind him to ask him to do this and do that. It just means allow him to pour into you. Allow him to be an actual partner and not just a man who's filling space. Because if you do that, again, what good man's going to want to stick around? People, and I say people because I'm talking about men and women, want to feel loved, desired, and valued. And when a relationship is too independent, or there's individuals acting too independently, you kill that vibe. You kill those things. And you send everything going left. So being too independent and not embracing interdependence when necessary is definitely something that will scare away a good man. And now the last thing that will scare off good men, or scare good men off, is not showing enough interest. All right? So listen, too many women have this mentality of, he needs to chase me, I'm the prize, it's up to him, he needs to pursue me, all these things. And I'm not saying I disagree with the pursuing part to a certain extent, right? But my concern and what I see as a real issue is that those things are being scapegoated or used as an excuse to have a wall up, to have this I'm going to sit back and watch approach, and essentially you're not reciprocating. You're not pouring back into him. You're not showing desire and interest. So many of you have had experiences where you may have been dating a man, and let's say for a month, 2 months, whatever, he was on point. He was doing everything right. He was really making an effort, right? And then out of nowhere, it stopped. It was gone. And you're like, what the hell? He must have been playing games. He's been full of crap, blah, blah, blah. And sometimes that can be the case. But more times than not, more times than you may realize, he stopped because you weren't pouring back into him. Because you were not reciprocating. Because you were not showing him the interest and desire that he needed. Because again, everyone wants that from the person that they're really into. Everyone wants to feel loved and wanted. And so if you're not allowing yourself to do that, and be real with yourself, because if you're not allowing yourself to do that, there's one or two reasons. Either you're just not really into this guy, and you're only entertaining him because, well, maybe you don't want to be alone, maybe you're bored, maybe, your friends and family say he's a good guy, give him a chance, various other reasons we can mention, or you have a wall up. And you're scared to be vulnerable. And you're noticing this reoccurring theme in a lot of these behaviors that scare men off. The root issue is a fear of vulnerability. And you've got to address that. You've got to correct that. You've got to be willing to show him you like him. You've got to be willing to express to him, hey, I want to see you. I want to hear from you. I miss you. All these things are good. And listen, look at it as just being true to yourself. If that's how you feel, be willing to let it out. Because again, the right man is going to love those things and embrace it. And it's going to fuel him to want you more and to pour into you more. But yes, can it scare the wrong man off? Yes. Which brings me to this point that I have to make. Because I noticed on the internet, as I said in the very beginning of this video, people giving pointers of what scares men off, not considering the fact that this is what's going to scare off the wrong men, which is good. We want to scare off the wrong men, all right? But some of y'all take it as, let me not engage in these things because, again, you're being told it scares off men, not showing you that it's a difference between wrong man and right man, or wrong man and good man at the very least, all right? So let me just run through 3 quick things that I believe is horrible advice that people are giving that you have to change your mindset on. All right. So that first thing real quick, oversharing. I see people saying, oh, don't overshare. Don't say too much. Listen, let me make it clear. I'm going to make it quick. If the man is genuinely into you, he's not going to have a problem with that. That's not going to scare him off. That's not going to be a problem. When there's a genuine connection, and I'm all about making you guys be ready and being able to embrace real connection. That real connection is going to love how much you share with them. The oversharing only pushes away the man who's not serious, or the man who is not emotionally ready to be vulnerable in that way, to open up, to also share of himself. He does not want that depth to the relationship. He's trying to keep it on the surface. But that's not what you want. And again, that means he's not ready or he's not the one for you. So guess what? Overshare. Let it out, because you're going to make it easier for you to see who's for you and who's not. The second thing I've seen also is committing too soon. All right. Oh, wanting a relationship too soon is going to scare the man off. Again, majority of men, when they're really into a woman, when they see this woman and they think, yo, this is potential here, this could be the one. And yes, that happens all the time. He's not scared off by relationship, you want a relationship too soon, so to speak. Hell, he might want it sooner than you do. All right? It's only going to scare off the man who is either lukewarm, all right, not emotionally ready, or just not really into you like he's just not for you, period. So again, now I'm not saying force the desire for commitment for the sake of seeing who's real. I'm saying be true to your desire of commitment. If it happens in a month, yo, then put it out there. Because also people are not explaining the fact that it's not about time. It's about how much quality time we spent together learning each other. So essentially, if we've only known each other for a month, but we went out on 2 dates, we've talked here and there, we would probably need more time before we can decide that we need a relationship. But let's say it's been 2 weeks, but for the past 2 weeks, it's been like, we just been diving into each other. We're talking every day. We're spending hours on the phone at times. We're spending all this time. We are really engaging with each other, and there's a real connection there. Why do we need several more months? It's because we're learning what we need to learn faster than those people who knew each other for 3-4 months. There are people who know each other for years who won't know you as good as someone that you may have spent quality time with in 1 month. All right? I kind of explained that wrong, but you get the point. The point is, time is not the decider of this thing. So be mindful of that. And then the last one, real quick, is putting him on a pedestal. Now, listen, I have a video about putting a woman on a pedestal. And I do agree with the idea of you don't want to put them on a pedestal to where you've devalued yourself. You don't want to put them on a pedestal to where you've essentially put them higher than God, all right? That's not what we want to have happen. However, I don't want you to misconstrue that or misunderstand that to mean that you should not value him in the way that you want him to value you. That you should not separate him from the pack of other men. Like I tell men, you should not be treating your woman like you treat other women. That doesn't make sense. She needs to see that she's on a pedestal higher than the rest. I do believe that same thing for your man. That man needs to know that he's on the pedestal higher than these other men that you deal with or have entertained, all right? So that kind of pedestal is okay. But if you're putting him on a pedestal that, again, is putting him above you and all this stuff, yeah, that's unhealthy, all right? So just be mindful of how you're looking at that. But again, I had to point these things out because too many people are receiving either misguided advice or they're misinterpreting the advice. And they're applying it the wrong way. And you got to always understand the difference between what scares off men in general, who are not serious about you, who are not for you, and what scares off the good men. And I want you to be able to receive, embrace, and experience an amazing relationship with an amazing man. So you can correct me if I'm wrong, but one of the biggest complaints I get from women about men is the fact that men don't like opening up. Men don't like communicating and discussing issues and being transparent about what's going on and how they feel about things. And the unfortunate reality is that what makes the situation worse is that there are times where a woman can say or do things that really get to a man, but because he doesn't express to her the issue, she doesn't have a full understanding of what the problem is. Now, some men would argue that they've said something and the woman just dismiss how they feel. But we're not going to talk about that part. We want to focus on the fact that there are a lot of unspoken things that happen or unspoken issues that occur that really can start to destroy the man's confidence. Now, when you looked at the title of this video, I hope you didn't think I was going to tell you how to destroy his confidence on purpose, all right, out of some vengeful rage or anything like that. Because we don't do no unhealthy, we don't give unhealthy tips and tricks on this channel, okay? But I want you to be aware of what can really start to chip away at a man's self-esteem and start to cause problems that will show itself in other ways in the dating process, in a relationship, or even in a marriage. So one of the first things and biggest things that a woman can do that destroys a man's confidence is weaponizing his past. All right? So for a lot of men, number one, just opening up about their past is very difficult to do. They don't do that with everyone. And when they do that with you as a woman, it is a sign of, I trust you. All right? Or at the very least, he wants to believe he can trust you. And that's why he allowed this information to come out. So when a situation then happens later on in the dating or relationship, whatever, where you now use that to hurt him in that moment, not only one, does it make him feel betrayed, because here it was, I was open to a woman, I was vulnerable with her, and now she's used this to attack me and used it to also disrespect me. And you got to understand that for men, we need to be respected in our relationships. So to feel so disrespected by this woman, that alone is going to hurt his confidence. But again, just the fact that you use his past against you when he tried to, or when he wants to believe he could trust you in that way. All right. But I want you to understand, it's not just about throwing things back in his face that he told you, which again, you have to really be careful not to do that. All right. And please understand, there's a difference between simply discussing the past versus weaponizing the past. All right. If you're going to attack him with it, if you're going to insult him with it, if you're going to try to make him feel bad about it, that's attacking him. Versus if you're inquiring, so hey, remember that thing you told me, and you're digging deeper because you want to learn more, that's okay. All right. That's okay. But the other part of weaponizing the past that is a common issue is where you'll have a couple, let's say you're in a relationship or you're married, and the man has made a mistake. He hurt you in some kind of way. Let's just say he got mad at you one day and cursed you out, and that really hurt your feelings, okay? So now you guys discuss it, and we're working towards being better and communicating better, right? And as he's making this effort, maybe because you feel like he hasn't been acting right for a long time. Let's just say, even though he just really cursed you out, there was a lot of other behavior and words that were said that you didn't appreciate. So in your mind, it's like, well, I'm waiting to see that he's really changed before I truly open back up to him. And in this waiting process, which that alone can be very frustrating, but when he tries to pull good out of you, you now remind him of what he did. So again, you are weaponizing the past, because rather than embracing the effort he's making right now, you want to use what he did before to excuse and validate why you're not willing or ready or able to open back up to him, or to start pouring back into him what he needs from you. All right. And the reason why this is such a confidence destroyer is because if I'm the man and I genuinely made a mistake, and now I'm genuinely working to get back in your good graces, to make things better, right? And you keep reminding me of what I did wrong rather than embracing what I'm now doing right, it makes me feel like, what's the point? What am I even doing here? I feel like I can't win. And with the way men think is that if it's not working, what's the point of continuing trying to do this? All right. So a lot of men give up in the process of trying to change their behavior, not because they're unwilling to change, but they get to a point where they feel like this is getting me nowhere. All right. So you have to be mindful. I don't want to go, there's a lot more deeper I can go into this specific point. But what I want to stress to you is that, listen, when it comes to this situation of he made a mistake and we're working on better, you have to focus on not continuously holding the mistake over his head, not dwelling in it, not beating him over the head with it. Instead, focus on, okay, if he's genuinely making an effort, good. And my thing is this. Now, if you're going to say to me, well, he hasn't been making that effort. Okay, well, then we can get to a discussion about why are we still with the guy. Maybe if he's not willing to make any changes, not making any effort, then that's just a sign of then he's just not willing to be serious about making things better with you. So let's end the relationship. But if he is making that effort, you can't overlook that and ignore that, because you're going to cause more problems and do more harm than good. All right, so now the second thing women do that can destroy a man's confidence is trying to make him into something he's not. So, I've said it before, there's this quote that says, men marry women hoping they won't change. Women marry men hoping they will change. All right? And what I want to differentiate first is there's a difference between trying to get the best out of him versus trying to make him something he's not. So let's say, for example, and this is just a small example, let's say he can be affectionate, but he's not as affectionate as you would like, or you would like him to do certain things. Let's say, for example, though he can be affectionate, he doesn't greet you when he sees you when you come home with a kiss, and you would love for him to do that. All right, that's not really making him someone he's not. You're trying to improve, you're trying to get him to improve in an area that he does show an ability to tap into, but maybe there is some things he needs to adjust, okay? Also, it could be the way that he speaks to you, all right? That it's helping him understand how to better communicate with you. I don't think that's trying to get him to be something that he's not. But let's just say, and I'm going to use this one because it's a very, very common one. Let's just say he has a job, and to him, he likes his job. And for the sake of this example, let's say he's making $65,000 a year. To him, he is comfortable there. And let's just say at this job, he's a manager. All right? He's happy with his manager position. He's happy with his $65,000. He's good. But in your mind, it's like, but you're so talented. You could own your own business. You could be running your own thing, right? So now you're trying to push him to that level. Now, here's the thing. There may be some instances where that guy really just needed the push, and he does have that in him. But many men are going to feel like you're trying to make me be something I'm not. I'm not trying to be someone's boss. I'm not trying to run my own company. I'm not trying to be some entrepreneur. I am happy where I am. And when you try to pull someone out of where they're happy, all right, to fit into a mold that you want to put them in, that creates a lot of tension, a lot of conflict, and a lot of insecurity, because now the question starts to form in his head, am I not good enough as I am? Am I really what she wants, or is she just with me for now, hoping for something better? You see what I'm saying? Because you are not accepting him as he is. And it's a great thing. I just did a recent video with Pastor Kingsley. It's not out yet, but he talked about that. He has a book where he gives from A to Z, like using the different letters of the alphabet to explain what women need, what men need. And for A, he said women need affection, men need acceptance. All right? Men want to be accepted rather than you trying to always turn them into something else. So it can create a lot of frustration. Now, here's the thing. There are men who, out of loving you, out of a genuine desire of being with you, will try to embrace your vision of where you want this to go or who you want them to be. But again, it's like you've got to understand, if he is not truly, genuinely excited about this, if it doesn't really resonate with him, it's going to start to get bad. It's going to start to feel like a burden to him and an annoyance to you, because the burden will be him trying to fit into something that doesn't really work for him, and the annoyance from you, because you're going to always feel like I have to be on top of him. I have to push him. I have to damn near in some situations do it for him. All right. And that right there, it just creates more battle. So there's already a drop in or a hit to the confidence in just the idea of wanting to change him. But then the battle that will incur from there between with this conflict at hand will add more to the insecurity. Because trust and believe, chances are, in those fights where there's this conflict, you may say some things that are even more hurtful. You may say some things that make him feel even more inadequate, okay? And it just goes downhill from there. So you just have to be mindful. And that's why it's so important to not necessarily date men for their potential. You have to date for their reality, who they are, what's their character. You have to find out what his vision is. And then ask yourself, am I cool with that? And can I enhance his vision? So not take his vision and give him my vision. It's going to be a problem. No. Can I pour into his vision and make it something bigger, better, stronger? That's the formula that's going to work. But making him something that he's not, big problem. All right, so now that brings me to number 3. The third thing women do to destroy a man's confidence is belittling him and emasculating him, okay? So as we were just talking about, where when you're trying to make him something that he's not, chances are there's going to be points of conflict, and there's a very good chance that you're going to say things that aren't nice, okay? And this is where the belittling or the emasculating can occur. And so a lot of women have what I like to call chopped his nuts off, okay? I hope that verbiage isn't too much for some of y'all, but a lot of women chop the man's nuts off and it emasculates him, okay? Now, here's what I have observed with these couples when this happens. This is the extra messed up part. You chop his nuts off. At some point, he's going to try to reattach his nuts, all right? The thing is, men will choose the worst time to try to reattach them. So essentially what it is that you emasculated him. You are undermining his manhood. He has to now reassert himself in some kind of way to regain his manhood. So now he will overcompensate in certain moments, trying to show he's big, bad, tough man, trying to show I'm the leader, trying to show you're going to respect me, right? But all he does is now add more fuel to the fire, and it becomes a bigger conflict. And then you lose more respect for this man. And it's this very vicious cycle, all right? So as a woman, it's important. Now, let me say this before I continue with that statement. To be clear about belittling and emasculating, you know, the way you talk to him can be very belittling and emasculating. So I always say, you don't want to say things like you're acting like a B, okay? Using the B word for a man, not good. You ain't man enough. You need to man up. You acting like a little like anything that really calls into question his manhood, his masculinity, that's a problem, all right? And if you say to me, but he is acting like a B, or he is, then listen, you have to learn either I am dealing with the wrong man, so rather than emasculate and belittle, let me exit myself out of the situation. Or how can I encourage him to be better without emasculating and belittling him and disrespecting him? All right. So, for example, rather than you acting like a little B, focus more on, hey, I think I need you to be willing to handle this in this way. All right. So you're encouraging him on how to do it better rather than insulting the fact that he's not doing it the way you think he should be doing it right now. You know what I'm saying? So you got to be careful with your words. And for those of you, because I already hear some of y'all, we got to walk on eggshells with these men. They're so sensitive. Listen, nobody likes to be spoken to in disrespectful ways. You don't, and neither does he. Everyone has to be mindful of their words. Everyone has to consider their partner's feelings. If you don't want to do that, respectfully, stay single. That's it. And I'll say that to a man or a woman. If you don't want to have to worry about how someone else feels and how you have to communicate to them, then you should remain single and be happy and free on that path. But if you would like a relationship, then you have to learn to embrace these things. And if they feel difficult for you to navigate, then that means there might be some things within you that you need to resolve. And it also means that you haven't practiced it enough for it to become second nature to you. Because for me, It ain't nothing to be mindful of my words. It ain't nothing to consider how you feel. But I've had to practice that a lot, not just with regular life, but also in being a coach and all these different things. But you can do the same thing. You can practice with your family, with your friends. If you have kids, you can practice with the people around you, with even strangers when you run into them. Once you get comfortable and used to it, it won't be so hard anymore. So back to the main point. You got to be careful with belittling and emasculating. It's only a setup for more problems. And again, it does lead to that man starting to feel more insecure. And like I said earlier, there's a lot of men trying to act tough, but they are hurting on the inside. All right. And though we can make the argument, just as I told you, well, if you have to stoop to that level, maybe you need to exit the relationship. I will acknowledge that even from the man's side, if he's being treated this way, he should exit. But let's understand this reality. The unfortunate, or you can call it fortunate in some situations, reality is that many people don't immediately leave once they're ingrained and invested in a relationship. All right. So even when they're being mistreated, many are hoping for things to get better, so they're not going to be quick to walk away. Or they're afraid to walk away. There could be various reasons. There could be unhealthy attachments. But bottom line is, it's not always that simple for the vast majority of people. That's why if we're going to be there, though, and we're not going to walk away, then we need to look at what we implement to make this better. How do we improve this situation? And then if we've done all that we can do, then it's even easier now to just say, okay, I can leave in peace. Oh, and one more example before I move to the next point of how you can belittle and emasculate is when you're talking to him like he's a little kid. All right. Don't talk to him like he's stupid. Now, I know some of y'all are like, but he is stupid. So listen, I get that there's moments of frustration. I get there's this feeling of sometimes he just doesn't get it. And that's why you're speaking to him in this way. But I'm telling you, again, if you cannot find a way to communicate with this man in a healthy way, for whatever reason, you feel like he's slow, you feel like he just doesn't care, whatever the case may be, then I would rather you say, you know what, this isn't working. But when you start to engage in these negative behaviors, here's one of the big problems. You develop that habit of going to the negative way of approaching it with him. Trust and believe you're going to end up doing that with other people. It doesn't just stay there. And not just other people, but other relationships. It now becomes your default mechanism. Don't get comfortable doing that. You've got to learn that if there's an issue with communication, and maybe, listen, rather than going to, he's just so stupid, maybe you're not learning how to effectively talk to him in a way that he can understand you and receive you. And I stress the word receive because, again, we are responsible for how we deliver our messages. Not what you say, is how you say it. And if you don't learn how to deliver it to that specific individual, because different people receive differently, then you're going to always have a hard time. So you've got to embrace, it's not just saying the words, it's how you communicate them to make sure you guys are getting on the same page, or to help you guys get on the same page. All right, so now let's before we get to the next one, which is a big one, so please keep watching. All right, here's your chance to get your questions answered for free. I want you to go to www.askstefanspeaks.com. You can click the link in the description or in the comments section. You'll have an opportunity to submit your question, and you'll have a chance to join my next live coaching call where you can get your question answered, your personal questions answered for free. So again, askstefanspeaks.com. Take advantage of this. So I said there's a big one. And here's another way that a woman can destroy, I'm going to stress the word destroy a man's confidence. And that is not showing him any sexual desire. All right. Now, let's start with the dating phase. I know that some of you are already thinking, but wait a minute, we're not supposed to be having sex. We're supposed to be waiting, or Stefan, you're supposed to be encouraging us to wait, right? even if you are, number one, I always say, I'm not telling y'all when I talk about sex things, it's not saying go have it. It's acknowledging the fact that some of you are having it, some of you will have it before you get married, before you get in a relationship. So we still have to discuss the dynamic of it. But even if you are waiting, okay, a man needs to feel like you are attracted to him and you do desire him. That doesn't mean you have to throw yourself at him. It doesn't mean you have to push him to the brink of sexual desire. In a situation where you are waiting, simply letting him know how good he looks to you, simply letting him know that, you know, you do or want him sexually, but you're not prepared to go that route and you're not going to go that route right now. That's fine. Like, you can still communicate. You can still give him an energy of desire. You can still, if he's comfortable with it, be affectionate towards him. And I say comfortable with it because if you are waiting and he's respecting that wait, some men don't want too much touching because that's going to arouse him and it's going to make it very difficult for him to respect the boundaries. Whereas some men don't mind being super affectionate and still not taking it that far. That's a discussion you have to have with that specific individual. But the point is, he still wants to feel like you are sexually attracted to him, because what you have to understand as a woman is that plenty of men have gone on dates with women, have been patient sexually, have poured into this woman, only to find out she friend zoned him, only to find out she's not really interested, only to find out she had sex with some other dude. It reminds me of this episode of Family Guy. I don't know if some of y'all watch that show, but there's an episode where the dog, and don't worry about the details, just follow me here. But the dog in the show, which acts like a human being, he was dating a woman. He usually rushes to sex. He said, nah, I'm not going to do it this time. Or the baby on the show was convincing him, I'm sounding crazy right now, but the baby on the show was telling him, wait, you always rush into sex. So he waits, and then one day he passes by a car, and it's his homeboy having sex with the girl he was dating. And she says to him, I thought you weren't interested because you never made a move. Now, though this is a cartoon and this is all fun and jokes on TV, that stuff happens for real. That might sound wild to you and be like, no, that can't be happening. No, I promise you, stuff like that happens for real. It may not always be a homeboy that he knows, but yes, there's been plenty of situations like that. And this is why some men become a little bit more anxious about trying to push things along sexually, because they're looking for the confirmation, the validation that you are actually into me. But now let's move along to you're in a relationship or you're married. You know, one of the most common love languages for men is physical touch. And men feel love through intimacy, all right? And they like to express their love through intimacy as well. So when you're not showing sexual desire, it not only messes with him because his desire is not being met, his needs aren't being met, but it makes him feel less loved. It makes him feel less wanted. It starts to make him question like, yo, is there something wrong with me? Now, yes, there's a natural defense mechanism by a lot of men to then say, no, it ain't me. It's something wrong with her. But it's hard not at some point in time in that process to not question yourself when your partner's not showing you that love, especially when it's like, yo, she used to show it, but now she doesn't. What changed? That's confusing. That's frustrating. It's hurtful. You know what I'm saying? And it can cause a lot of problems. So as a woman, again, I think it's always important that you make sure you let your man know that you are attracted to him, that you desire him sexually. That's why I think a big thing for those of you who are married, is initiating sex. You know what I'm saying? Like, just don't wait for him to want it. Show him you want it. And even for some of y'all who might be saying, but I don't really want it that bad, right? Just sometimes you know that's what he, like, again, there are things that you want from him that he doesn't really care for, but you want him to embrace it because it's important to you. Well, you may not always care for giving him some sex or giving him a quickie or whatever the case may be. But if you know it's important to him, you should embrace that. And you should find ways to Motivate yourself to make it happen every now and then. And when that man feels desired, because I feel the need to say, this is one of those hitting my spirit moments. There's a lot of women who will say to me, but I am having sex with my man. I am having sex with my husband, and it feels like it's not good enough. And what they're overlooking and missing is that, yes, you are, no pun intended, sucking it up and taking one for the team when he wants to lay down with you, but you don't make him feel desired at all right? So the sex feels very flat, and it feels more, it's obligatory, but it's not truly like, we're into each other. You want it right now. Men want to feel like you're into it and you want it and you want them. You know what I'm saying? And when you do that, it makes them feel good and it feeds their confidence rather than destroys it. So that's the piece that might be missing in a lot of situations, or it is missing in a lot of situations, is he doesn't feel desired by you. But yeah, you're just doing it just to do it. So we got to add some desire in there if we want to really make things work. All right, so I got to add another. My videographer does be throwing points at me sometimes that reminds me. So he made a great point. He said, this is why, and hear me out before you get triggered in any kind of way for those of y'all who might get triggered by this. But he made the point that this is why some men gravitate to the strip clubs, all right? Because the stripper is making them feel desired. Now, here's what's crazy about the strip club. The man can go in there knowing very well, this is her profession, okay? Knowing very well, she's just running game on me. But it feels good. Even though you know this is what she does, it feels good. But here's the thing. If the stripper is good at what she does, like, she can really make him fall into a place of thinking, maybe she really does want me. Maybe she is attracted to me. And that draws him in even more. Now, I'm not saying be a stripper. I'm saying learn how to talk to him like a stripper. No. I'm saying learn how to make a man feel good. Learn how to stroke that. I hate saying stroke that ego because there's such a negative connotation on stroke his ego. And the reality is that everyone, men and women, likes a little ego stroking. Let's just focus on the words, make him feel wanted and desired. That's all. That's all. Let's keep going. All right, so now here's another very important one. And I feel the need to say this probably isn't as common of an issue, at least from what I've seen, but it is and can be an issue. And another thing women do that can destroy a man's confidence is lacking boundaries with other men. Okay? So, you know, one thing about men, and again, it's never all, okay? Never all. Nothing I say is never meant to be all. But a lot of men, arguably most men, can tend to be territorial about the woman they're into. And I would argue some men are even territorial even when they're not really into you, all right? That's just how they are with any woman they deal with. Any woman that they take interest in, they become very territorial. And so when they have a woman who then doesn't seem to respect the boyfriend, or not the boyfriend, well, boyfriend or the husband dynamic, that you are his woman, this is the way he's looking at it, right? It makes him feel like you're not respecting him. Now, here's a perfect example. I just saw a TikTok. I don't know how true this is, but they said this man broke up with this girl, his girlfriend, because she got a lap dance from Chris Brown at a concert, okay? He paid for her to go to the concert. I think he got her front row tickets, all right? She randomly gets pulled up to the stage. Chris Brown does his thing, dances all over her. She gets home, he tells her, we're done. Because to him, it's like, yo, you didn't have no boundaries here. You disrespected me. You disrespected our relationship. Like, you are in a relationship. You don't need to be on stage having some man grind on you. Now, listen, different men have different boundaries, okay? Some men might hear that and be like, yo, that's not that big of a deal. It's Chris Brown. It's a concert. I'm not worried about it. The same way, there's some women who might hear the strip club example and they don't care if their man goes to a strip club as long as they're coming home. Different people have different boundaries. But whatever those boundaries are, you need to learn them, number one, All right. So I think it's very important that when you get into a relationship or when you're dating a guy, you ask him in his perception, what does he deem inappropriate? One, I think that's such a great thing to do in the sense that it shows that you care about what is important to him or what his boundaries are. All right. And two, of course, it helps eliminate any confusion because you might think something is not a big deal. He might think it is. And if you guys can discuss this in advance, then we can, one, come to a conclusion of, are we in alignment with where we want to place our boundaries? Because it's very possible, if using the Chris Brown example, you have this discussion with your man. He's like, yo, if that was me, I would break up with you too. And to you, it's like, nah, it shouldn't be a big deal. Well, then we might need to accept that just means we see things differently and maybe we should not continue with this relationship. Because what else are we not going to agree on as far as what should be boundaries and what shouldn't, right? Or we might realize, oh no, or whether we were on the same page initially, we can respect where each of us are drawing those lines and say, okay, I can work with that. That's cool. Now we can move forward and we don't have these problems. But it's not just having a lack of boundaries, but it's also constantly crossing those boundaries. Because again, to men, like the last thing men want to hear is some other man saying, yo, I saw your girl and this dude was all up in her face and she wasn't rejecting him. She wasn't, you know what I'm saying, establishing that boundary. And again, there's a difference between some dude harassing you versus you entertaining someone. All right. For some men, those boundaries aren't just about offline in person, but how you carry yourself online. All right. Some men have boundaries of, yo, you shouldn't be posting anything close to sexy online. That's crossing a boundary to them. And to them, that's disrespectful. And to some, though some may feel disrespected, they may still remain or try to hold on. But in holding on while you're crossing those lines, it's knocking down his self-esteem and confidence because he feels like you don't respect him. All right. And it makes him question like, dang, like, how can I trust she's not going to leave me? Because understand, when I say confidence, it's not just confidence in self that you're messing with in the list of things I mentioned in this video. It's also confidence in his ability to be with you and trust to be with you in a relationship. You know what I'm saying? And that starts to erode when you do all these things I mentioned. So all that to say, there has to be a discussion as early as possible as what are respectable boundaries. I remember even one time I was getting to know someone and I asked her, I said, yo, I think it's a great thing to pull out random scenarios and talk to each other about like, okay, how would you handle this? How do you perceive this? So I asked her, I said, listen, if we go to a club by ourselves, so let's just say you go to the club with your girls, it's your girl's birthday. I'm at the club with my boy's birthday. And someone wants to dance with us. Is that inappropriate or is it okay? Having that discussion of, okay, what's acceptable and what isn't. And I'm not going to tell you what our answers were, but we were on the same page. So it was cool. You know what I'm saying? But that's a whole different story. But the point is, yes, have those talks. All right. So I actually originally had 2 more, but I don't want to keep this video going. So as always, whenever I have extra points to make, I'll create a separate video for that. But what I want to say to you is, again, it's important. Communication is key. And the more we can communicate and discuss these things up front, the better off we can be. And we have to understand that we have a responsibility in how we pour into each other through communication, through our behaviors, through the energy that we bring to a relationship if we want to establish and experience something special. And when we're doing when we're doing our part and that person cannot get on the same page or meet us there, then that's just more evidence. We need to let them go and move on to something bigger and better. Hey, thank you for watching this video. Be sure to check this one out right here, and I'll see you there. So if you listen closely to this video and apply everything I'm about to tell you, I'm going to have you driving men wild on your first, second, third, whatever date. All right. Trust and believe.